Hopefulness 2.0, November 7th, 2023. I bought a painting. First ever painting. This is the direction that it is intended to be. But I like it like this. And I'm going to put it back where I put it. Which is next to the television. So I'll show you here. Place is messy, of course, because of where I live and who I am. So there's the TV. There's Mr. Jesse Cox. So put it here. You can see it from my bed. You might be wondering, what the hell is that? Well, the description is essentially like the sky, with the big red mark through it. I can't remember exactly what the description is. So like obviously it could be sunset like, but here's the thing about a sunset. They are warm colored. They're not cold colored like this is. This is cold colored. Cold meaning more like the morning. Blue hued, more tense in the blues and greens kind of area. Purples especially. Whereas evenings are generally more like red, yellows, oranges. Purple isn't really a color, by the way. So purple is a color, but it also kind of isn't a color because you can't find purple in the rainbow. And the rainbow is just a splitting up. It's a diffraction of visible light. And because of that, hang on. There's only so much color that's literally there, that's available. Now, you might be saying, I see purple all the time. Hell, this is purple. Yeah, kind of. But see, that's a blending of blue and red, which is what a purple is. But the thing is that is what your eyeball, well, not even what your eye, that's what your brain is perceiving. There's a difference between color perception and color emission. Emission of a color is whatever there is available, and that's it. Perception is whatever is available that then gets blurred inside your brain. Oh, that's right. I did, in fact, turn off the Wi-Fi on that. That's what I was actually checking for. I didn't really check the right place for it, but it doesn't matter. So this is made, obviously, with blue paint. And potentially, at least, white paint. And there's definitely some blue glitter. Okay. It's like, where's the blue? The blue glitter is more obvious down here. And now glitter up here kind of looks bluish at times, but also white. And then there's like white specks like that. You might be wondering, what the hell's with the damn big red stripe in the middle? It's more orange than it is red, but it does transition. It's more of an orange up to a red. And that could be just because of the transparency of the paint itself. There doesn't seem like there's a lot of paint. They definitely used masking tape, painter's tape, to mask. At least I understand some of these things. have taken some art classes. I am not good at art. It is very difficult for me to perceive certain types of color variations, just because of the color vision issues that I've known about for nearly 20 years now. But I can still see these things. I can still discern them for the most part. Occasionally it takes a little bit more scrutiny or what have you, but it's whatever. But there's definitely some reds and some yellows. Obviously they painted over this first with the blues. Then they painters taped it up and then put the red and orange. And maybe they started off at the top. And this is one of the fun things about art, especially, in my opinion, abstract art. See, that's what I was looking for. I wanted, to find an inexpensive piece of artwork. And B, I wanted it to be abstract. Because I don't want someone to tell me what I should perceive, if you will. It's not, it does sound like, but it's not sort of an anti-authoritarian thing. I just like being able to interpret stuff. Now, of course, I play video games all the time, and in video games it is telling you X, Y, and Z, but that's the difference, is that through the interactivity of a video game, I'm getting a different experience, which is what I'm after, for the most part. Whereas in a painting like this, maybe I dated somebody who's a painter, right? And they're really good, but they paint stuff that's based on real life. Now, and let's say they paint a painting with me in mind, and they still paint what they paint. And it does have, obvious shapes, and, it's got like people or buildings or horses or whatever the fuck they may be. But if they were doing it for me, specifically for me, with their talents, I wouldn't care that it wasn't what I like it to be, or that they're telling me something, whatever. Because the intent is for me. It's, it's an expression of their love, friendship, adoration, whatever it is, to me. And I'm going to be like, yes, please, motherfucker. That's the difference. When I go searching for art that speaks to me, I look for abstract stuff. Because that's what clicks in my brain. Because the one thing that, and I was going about the reason why I like paintings especially is because you can start breaking down the process. And some people would say that takes the mystique out of it. I don't know, maybe not. For me, I like understanding the process of a thing. That actually makes it more interesting to me, more valuable. And it makes it more impactful. When I understand why clouds form, I appreciate clouds more. When I understand how a building is built, I understand the building more. When I understand how a phone is made, or whatever it is, when I understand how and why a thing is why it is, I appreciate it more. Because that's who I am. With this, on the other hand, I'm like, well, you could say, well, this doesn't take no effort. All they do is just take some blue, paint over it and just kind of. But you know what? Have you ever tried? Painting isn't really that easy. Now, this is acrylic paint. I believe they said so on the website page. And so acrylic paint is easier and it's cheaper, but I don't care either. Sure, it's more interesting if they made their own paints out of fucking plants and shit from their hometown, out of a certain region, out of BFE nowhere France or whatever it is, but that's not necessary. What I feel is necessary when it comes to art is, does it work for you? And that's it. You could look at this and be like, well, okay, it's, with the red thing, it could be that like you're looking through a window and this just happens to be in the way. Okay? It'd be an interesting colored window with all the, the orange transition, but hey, maybe and that's the thing. Even if it was that, based on the information that I have here, that'd be a pretty interesting window. If I'm looking out a window like that, I'd be like, interesting. So, I'm looking out a window that has this very red paint on it. Red paint because it's from rust, because that's pretty much where you get your red paint from. That's why barns and shit are what they are, because they had iron in them in their paint. So that could tell me some historical elements about what I'm looking through window wise. It's symbolical. It's not telling me what I need to see, and that's why I like it. If I flip it upside down, now I've got a different perspective of it entirely, and I like this more. It speaks to me more now. I'm like, well, okay. About the only thing that's dark below like that is water. So now I look at it and I think, okay, it's kind of terrifying, in fact, because I have that thalassophobia, which is like the fear of open, like oceans, basically. So I was playing the game Abzu, which is a game where you're like a diver, and there's no dialogue. It's from the same people who made Journey, and in that there's no dialogue as well. Oh, interesting. The glitter kind of changes a little bit here. See if you can see it in the phone. I can't see. To me, the glitter looks a little on the yellow side, but to the phone, it looks a little bit just still shimmery. Oh well. And it could be just my color perception. But I look at it, and I'm thinking, maybe I'm underwater. Maybe that's a tube to a bathysphere. One of those diving helmets that has like a giant tube on it. I don't know. It could be any kind of thing. And in a way, this is more terrifying because it's less knowable. It's less experienced. Or, an even better word, it's less experiential, which is the same word essentially as experienced, but it's just a better word. Experiential knowledge is knowledge that you have based on having done that thing. For all intents and purposes, that's the quick and ugly. And a person who is bitten by a shark has experiential knowledge about it. They understand the feeling, the pressure and the tearing and the sharpness or whatever it may be. And often there's a lot of stuff that goes missing when you're in situations like that. But like to me, I like this more because it invokes more things in me. But it's technically upside down because that's the signature. That's the right side. But it doesn't matter. And that's another aspect about art that I love, and also why I like abstract stuff. Because most of the time, a non-abstract piece of artwork is also going to tell you its orientation. It's going to you're going to know. Unless you get into some Escher shit. Which is one reason why I like Escher. Because a lot of times, the orientation, the up, down, left, and right, aren't really known. Now, in this situation, it's kind of either or. It's either this or this, because this doesn't really exist in a typical world. However, there is a place where this does exist. If you don't worry about the red line, this right here and over here, and maybe you already know if you're already there or not, but you could be in space, which is also fucking terrifying. And that's what I like about it. That there are basically 3 orientations to this. Only one of them really speaks to me that much. And also it just happens to be an orientation that I can make work. But that's okay. And that's what's cool about, in my opinion, abstract art. Now you might be saying, well, what's the deal with the red line? It doesn't matter. It can be anything. You know? Again, you could be out in space. Maybe that just happens to be your angle on a planet. Maybe you're out in space and that is what you see out of a porthole, or that's one of the rings of this of the planet itself. But because it's not explicit about its depiction, it doesn't have to be exact, or it doesn't have to be like an artist's interpretation or an artist's rendering of a concept of an interpretation. It could just be like, hey, I think this is a planet, this is a shot of a planet, and that's the ring around the planet. And that's what they could be saying if they wanted. But all of those interpretations are technically right, but also wrong. And it doesn't matter in the end. And that's what's awesome about abstract art. I just farted. Abstract farting. Because you get to decide. And that might even change. It might be fluid. And that's exciting to me. You know, yeah. Maybe a still life of a pot of, pot with some flowers in it is nice, and that's what you want. I ain't gonna pick on you for it. I ain't gonna tell you that your taste in art is wrong. But see, in this, I get to look at it and I can discern things. You can still discern things when it comes to still life or slice of life type stuff and what have you. I mean, Andy Warhol took everyday objects and like became a cultural phenomenon because he painted them. You know, because there was elements, there was this meta art aspect where it was like he was painting capitalism essentially, you know, or the American dream, because like one of his most famous paintings is that Thanksgiving dinner. And it's like, that might have been Warhol. I think it's been a while. I don't remember. If you happen to be watching, go ahead and put that information down below in the comment section. But art, just in general, is taste. And taste is subjective. And you could look at this and be an art critic who understands art and be like, this is amateurish garbage or whatever the fuck, I don't know. You could look at the strokes, or you could look at this, or you could look at that. You could look at the masking. You know, one thing and only one thing that I would change about this, but I'm not gonna, because it's already done. If I could go back in the past, it would be a different situation entirely, so it doesn't really matter. But this is also the part of art that I like through the interpretation, is that I would like it to be a little bit more off-center. It's already off-center. Slightly. But I would want it to be a little bit more off-center, closer to the sort of rule of thirds grid situation. It wouldn't have to be exactly at 1/3. It could be just slightly over. It could be bordering 1/3. Because I feel like when you do that, Since there's more space, it gives the image movement. Essentially, it allows you to glance over it more so, and in a sense, it's the difference. Okay, even within an abstract piece of art, it creates even more abstraction. Because if you create, let's say, a Mona Lisa or a park scene or flowers or whatever it may be, one of the things that you're trying to accomplish when people see your work is that they don't just stare at one spot. You want to draw their eyes all over the place. You want them to scan it as often as humanly possible. Every time they see it, they should want to scan it more. The thing about having a line or something right in the middle, it makes it less likely that they're going to do that. Unless, and this is with any art, any kind of art form, be it acting, painting, hell, even sports, it doesn't matter. Once you know the rules, then you can know how to break them. And in breaking the rules, that's where things get interesting. Then you're like, okay, I know what I'm doing here, and I'm intentionally breaking the rules. I mean, this black, well, not black, this dark blue, it could be black for all I know, but it's very, very dark blue. At minimum, almost halts right at the halfway mark, too. Maybe they knew exactly what they were doing when it came to the rule of thirds and said, I know what I'm doing. Not only am I going to break it, but I'm going to break it so I can break your brain. I don't know. Who knows? It doesn't matter, though. Because I spent about $45 on it after all, taxes and everything. And I don't regret buying it. I think, ultimately, that's all that matters. You're in a way. Have fun.